will start at 11 o'clock.
Oh, just in the front row.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
We'll take it wherever we can get it. I'm on the improve. Here you go. How you going, Lou? That's the way you do it. You're going to reach away.
I bet it's silent.
Let's hope it goes through rather quick. Yes.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, both here in Naracoorte and watching via the live stream. Welcome to the South Australian Volunteer Firefighters Museum and to the 11th Remembrance Service. I'm Stuart Stansfield, your MC for today. We recognise the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet. We pay our respects to them and acknowledge elders, past, present and future. Please switch your phone to silent, and if you don't have a program, just raise your hand and one will be delivered to you. It's good to see so many familiar faces turning out here today. A bit windy, threatening to rain, but you've turned out for this very important occasion. Many familiar faces, some have been involved with this museum for a long time. And in fact, it was 20 years ago in February when a working party was formed to investigate how best to preserve the history of volunteer firefighting in South Australia. The late Rex Hall chaired that committee and became one of the driving forces behind what you see here. Alan Hall proudly continues his father's work as chairman of this museum. Please welcome Alan Hall.
Thank you, Stuart, and welcome everyone. Apologies with the weather. We took a punt about 3/4 of an hour ago and went, no, it's not going to be wet, but I think this is going to blow through pretty quick anyway. So, yes, good morning, welcome everyone. And as Stuart said, this is our 11th annual memorial service. Interesting times we live in with fuel prices and whatever. Has certainly had an effect on numbers that we're seeing here today. Hence, with special thanks to the CFS Foundation, we've actually managed to live stream this, so hopefully there's a number of people attending but not in person. Few special guests I'd like to make mention. Tony Passon, the federal member for Barker, Mr Jason Virgo, state member for MacKillop, Brett Lachlan, AFSM, the CFS chief officer, and also representing the Minister for Emergency Services, Ms Rhiannon Pearce. Paul Seeger, Deputy Chief of SACFS. Andrew Lawson, AFSM representing the Foundation. Mr Jeff Clark, AFSM representing the Volunteer Association. Superintendent Trent Cox representing SAPOL. Fiona Gill representing National Parks and Wildlife Service. Local Mayor Patrick Ross and Tatiara Mayor Liz Gosens. Apologies if I've forgotten someone. Trying to wade through the emails of who we do and don't have has been challenging. Apologies we do have from the Minister, Minister Pearce, Liberal Senator Ben Hood, Grant Stevens, the South Australian Police Commissioner, Russell Branson, AFSM, one of the museum's governing councillors, and Mick Lavery, the Acting Assistant Chief Fire Officer, Region 4, representing CFA. Today, certainly to me, and I'm sure to most of you, will be quite an emotional day, given that we're unveiling 4 new plaques on the wall for people who have paid the ultimate sacrifice while undertaking firefighting within South Australia. The country firefighting family, as I call it, be it CFS, be it National Parks, be it Woods and Forests, is a really close-knit community, and hence the number of people here paying respect. So thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes that's made today happen. I'm just sitting at the top, pushing directions in every way, shape and form, and allowing others to do the rest. But please take time, reflect on what it is we're here for today, and I'll hand back to Stuart to get proceedings underway.
Thank you, Alan. Country Fire Service Headquarters is again represented this year by Brett Lachlan. Brett was appointed Chief Officer and Chief Executive Officer of the CFS in 2022. He is responsible for leading 13,500 volunteers and paid staff delivering fire and rescue services. Please welcome Brett Lachlan.
What beautiful firefighting weather this is! I mean, no one's pager is going to go off. At least there is that. So we'll take some small solace. And for the farming friends here today, no one's complaining as well. Look, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, invited dignitaries, importantly, the family and friends of the people we gather to honour, and of course, members of the CFS and our partner emergency services. Thank you all for taking the time in this uncertain world to come together and join in our annual memorial service. This is such an important event each year, and it is how we come together to demonstrate our commitment to the sacred promise that we make, that we will never forget the sacrifices that our members make. Whether it is lives lost in a tragic incident or lives lost through the insidious risk of workplace cancers, we who are gathered here solemnly swear that we will never forget those who have lost their lives in the service to South Australia. Before I get too much further into my remarks, I would just like to take a moment to share the apologies of the Minister for Emergency Services, the Honourable Rhiannon Pearce MP, who deeply regrets that she's unable to be here to attend today's memorial service. She's asked me to convey her thanks to the Firefighters Museum for both the organisation of the event as well as their ongoing efforts to preserve the history of firefighting in South Australia. The Minister wanted to acknowledge the importance of taking these moments to recognise the bravery and sacrifice of our volunteers across the state. In the CFS, roles are shared, challenges are shared, risks are shared, and above all else, grief is shared. Since becoming the Minister, she has shared this experience alongside us and has seen and supported the commitment we make to remember and honour our fallen. Each year, I know that I feel the weight of these services. They are always heavy. But this morning, as we add 4 names to the memorial behind me, this year's service feels particularly heavy. Behind each of these names, on the plaques on our memorial, was a person who was loved, who had hopes and dreams, and who made an impact on the world around them. Each memorial service since becoming chief, I have used my time up here to share the story behind some of those names and the circumstances surrounding their passing. This morning I will do my best to capture a small part of each of the 4 firefighters whose names we add and honour today. Peter Curtis. Peter passed away on the 23rd of November 2025 while working with a small team undertaking remote firefighting as part of a National Parks and Wildlife Service strike team deployed to a scrub fire in the Pinkawillinie Conservation Park west of Kimber on the Eyre Peninsula. He began his firefighting career with forestry in 1995, then transferred to National Parks and Wildlife Service in 2017, where he served in leadership roles including strike team leader and sector commander, and had deployed to incidents across South Australia. He was deeply respected for his skill, leadership and generosity in mentoring others, and was an integral part of the Warrabra fire crew. Peter was 65 years old, and a husband to Jackie, father to Acacia, Thomas, Guy and Joe, and a much-loved grandfather. Peter was fit, determined and very dedicated, and he had an aversion to using computers for work, with a special dispensation granted that allowed him to submit his post-burn reports and other paperwork in handwritten form. Peter will be commemorated at this year's National Memorial Service in Canberra on the 8th of May. Neil Adams. Neil Adams, known by many as Wazza, was a dedicated CFS member of 39 years, starting with the Waikerie Brigade in 1985. Neil had a deep love of the CFS and was an active member who had attended many hundreds of emergency incidents to support the community. In keeping with his love of the CFS and the community more broadly, Neil's funeral service was held at the Waikerie CFS station. Neil's passing on the 17th of September 2024 was recognised under the presumptive cancer legislation and is recorded as a line of duty death. He was 62 at the time. Neil was a husband to Veronica and a father to Emily and Chloe. All who knew him described him as a gentleman who gave so much of his time in service to others. His service inspired both Emily and Chloe to also join, leaving a lasting legacy that I'm sure he was very proud of. Neil's name was added to the National Emergency Service Memorial in 2025. Troy Kingslow. Troy Kingslow was a CFS member for 10 years who had been an active member of Nan, Hermitage and Salisbury brigades. He had attended hundreds of incidents, including deploying to New South Wales to assist with the fires in the Sydney area in 2013. Quoted in the Advertiser upon his return from that New South Wales deployment, Troy recounted how hard they had worked and how he was part of a group who had helped evacuate a hospital in Springwood and had helped save St Columbia High. Upon moving to Victoria in 2014, he continued to volunteer with the CFA. Troy's passing on the 18th of May 2024 was recognised under the presumptive cancer legislation and is recorded as a line of duty death. He was a husband to Kayleen and a father to Georgia and was 50 years old. Before he passed, he realised a lifelong dream and flew in a World War II Spitfire at the Brigham Hill Airfield in the UK. Troy's name was added to the National Emergency Service Memorial in 2025. Brian Menadue. Brian Menadue became a volunteer firefighter at Virginia in 1960 before transferring to Salisbury, where he served from 1961 to 2011 and then remained active with the Para Reserve Group. During his incredible 60 years of service with the CFS, Brian was also a staff member for over 40 years, working in a variety of roles, including in communications, as a regional officer in Region 2, and as the Senior Development Assessment Officer involved in ensuring the fire safety systems and designs are in place for new developments. He was also heavily involved in the CFS competition field days that were held across the state. At age 78, he said he was determined to stay involved with the CFS for as long as he enjoyed it and was physically able to contribute, describing the organisation as being like a big family with an unbelievable bond. Brian passed in 2020 and has now been recognised under the presumptive cancer legislation and is recorded as a line of duty death. He was 80 at the time of his passing, and he was a husband, father and grandfather, and his enduring legacy with CFS lives on, with his son Jason proudly serving in the CFS as a captain of the busy Roseworthy Brigade. Brian will also be commemorated at the National Emergency Service Memorial in Canberra this year. Across the nearly 150 years of service that these four firefighters represent is a reoccurring theme of dedication, service and sacrifice. CFS members are twice the South Australians. Not only do they contribute to the state and their communities through their work and their families, but they also go above and beyond and risk their lives in service to something far greater than themselves. This bond of service to others that unites all CFS members, and indeed all members of South Australia's various emergency services, is special and is unique. When people are having the worst day of their lives, when they need us most, it's people like Peter, Neil, Troy and Brian who are answering their call. People experience a real sense of relief when the CFS fire truck comes racing down the road, lights flashing, siren blazing, and people like these hop out of the fire truck. And it is a privilege that those of us who serve get to play a small part in people's lives and help protect what they value most. But as today reminds us, that privilege is not without risk and not without sacrifice. In these challenging times of global conflict, changing weather patterns, and unprecedented cost and uncertainty, we need our CFS firefighters more than ever. We owe it to them to ensure that they are well equipped, well trained and supported before, during and after every incident they attend. And we must ensure that they have our enduring thanks and that we never forget their sacrifice. So this morning, let us say to all CFS personnel, past and present, we say thank you and we reconfirm our promise to always remember, and may our fallen rest in peace. I would also like to take a moment to just offer my sincere thanks to Alan, Rob, Chris and the team who have organised today and who care so lovingly for the memorial. I'd also like to acknowledge our cadets who are doing us very proud, the legacy that they are building upon. I think we can all take solace and comfort that the service is in good hands into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I've bought the sunshine. I'm going to take that as me. That was my skill and win there, so that's something I'm going to claim. And on that note, I will leave you. Thank you so much for making the effort to join with us today. And please, as always, stay safe.
Thank you, Brett. And Brett will come forward again shortly for the unveiling of the plaques. One of those plaques will be jointly unveiled with Fiona Gill, the Director of Fire Management and Compliance with the National Parks and Wildlife Service. Please welcome Fiona Gill.
Peter Curtis was a valued and respected member of the National Parks and Wildlife Service in the York and Mid-North region, based at Warabra in the Southern Flinders Ranges. Peter was a Forestry and National Parks firefighter in the CFS for 30 years and attended numerous bushfires and prescribed burns all over the state, as well as contributing to significant incidents in other parts of Australia. He had a wealth of practical knowledge and experience from a lifetime of living and working in the Warabra forest and surrounding areas. Peter was known for his diligence and hard work and for educating and mentoring younger staff. Peter was a caring and considerate person deeply respected and loved by all who knew him, and his loss is felt profoundly by his colleagues, by the fire services and by the broader community. Our love and thoughts continue to be with Peter's wife Jackie, their 4 children and their families, and the extended Curtis clan. I just wanted to share some brief stories and reflections about Peter from his National Parks colleagues in the York and Mid-North region. Peter was a man whose presence shaped our days, our work and our lives in more ways than we can fully express. He was the kind of person who left a mark simply by being himself, honest, caring and deeply committed to the people around him. Peter had a gift for accepting people as they were, while still pushing them to become the best person they could be. With a familiar and encouraging, "Come on girl," or "Come on man, you can do this," he lifted people up, believing in their abilities even before they believed themselves. His faith in those he worked with was unwavering. New starters and younger members of the team called him Papa Pete, and the nickname says everything about the impact he had. Peter became a father figure to many, not because he tried to, but because of his natural ability to guide, to support, encourage and share in the lives of those around him. Peter loved the bush. In a job filled with track clearing, tree cutting, campground maintenance and prescribed burns, Peter always found time to appreciate the beauty of the places he worked in. He admired native orchids in the spring, and he climbed cliffs and gorges just for the chance to glimpse a yellow-footed rock wallaby. His appreciation of the land reminded others to stop, look and value the world around them. He was someone we relied on. Whatever the task, when Peter said, "Consider it done," we all knew it would be. He was a generous man in every sense. He shared his knowledge of local history, his wisdom, and of course his homegrown produce, especially the cherries at Christmas time. Peter left a lasting mark on everyone he worked with. His absence is felt deeply. We miss him terribly, but the shared memories, lessons and experiences will stay with us forever. You have finished with the fire hose, hung up your helmet and stowed away your chainsaw. Rest in peace, Peter.
So Fiona, just having just sat down, if you'd like to come forward again, please, and also Brett, for the unveiling of the plaques. Today's memorial service will again be led by Jim Keach. Jim has been a firefighter for 32 years now, and for almost the same length of time has been supporting emergency services personnel coping with grief, trauma and critical incident management. Today, though, I think is officially the first time that I can introduce Jim as CFS Chaplain Jim Keach. Please welcome Jim.
Good morning. As we now move into the solemn and significant memorial part of our service, I would acknowledge the journeys of the families, the colleagues and friends who have lost loved ones in the line of duty and whose names are on this wall. Today's service would want you to know and feel that the one you miss is also missed and remembered by us all. We all walk down our own paths, and on occasions such as this memorial service, those paths join together for a short time, that we may support and encourage each other and thereby find some peace in the journey. I feel honoured to be standing with you today in this unique sacred space. This space that tells of sacrifice, that speaks of memory and reminds us of who we now miss. A space that holds history, that enables us to remember as it brings back stories of courage and sacrifice. A space that is precious to the fabric of the CFS and a foundation stone to the organisation's continued journey of commitment to a village. And in the memories that this monument and this museum hold for us is the promise that in remembering what has gone before, we can find strength to acknowledge our own commitment and resilience, and so be proud of the achievements that have been made, whatever they may have been, and to find comfort in the contributions we have given and continue to give to our communities. We come to a place such as this and perhaps sit in the dust of our grief, tasting the salt of our tears. And there we find others who are also sitting. And while no one sits in exactly the same dust or cries the same tears, the very act of sitting together, whether words are uttered or not, speaks to us of community and of support. There is a mystery here. On our journey, we crave and search for sometimes elusive peace and comfort. We wander lonely into dark places, hoping to see light, and yet it eludes us seemingly for an eternity. Then some people ring, drop in, accompany in silence, write, support, create memorials. And the community which we feared we had lost quietly appears among the dusk of our grief, bringing love and the mercy to share. And in a way that we may not understand, a faint glimmer of light appears on the horizon of our souls. This memorial and wreath-laying commemoration service has for 11 years now been one of the significant events in the annual life of the CFS, as you have heard. Its significance, I believe, lies in the intent for this service to affirm and contribute to the potential healing and comfort that hopefully comes with an understanding that the efforts and the sacrifices of fire and emergency services personnel are recognised, and that through this service each year and the permanent memorial that is in front of us, they are never forgotten. Memorials are created in many shapes and forms to remember, to remind, to celebrate, and to last. It does, though, seem a little incongruous that our people, who were full of commitment, dedication, responsibility, passion, and life, are eternally named on what appears to be lifeless rock and metal. And yet, through the power and the mystery of relationships, community, shared purpose, and for some, everlasting grief, we are able to see past the rock and the metal to the memories and the lives. We come and stand before the memorial as though in a cocoon, protected from the hustle and noise of the world, waiting for the sense of quietness, acceptance and peace to descend upon our hearts and souls. In its inanimate way, this monument of metal and rock connects us to that which holds a significant and sacred place within our hearts and souls. We have the privilege and the opportunity to visit the memorial and stand there for as long as we need to, wrapped in our precious thoughts and emotions, perhaps experiencing again the pangs of grief as it continues to walk with us, or perhaps being reminded of the value of dedication and commitment to a cause, an organisation, a village. And when we are ready, we then leave that sacred moment and turn our faces to the world, knowing that the journey is not easy, and while at times we just stop and mark time in what feels like the desert of our lives, we know within our heart and soul that we can step towards whatever the journey is taking us, and we can feel, even if only faintly, the promise of hope mixed with renewal of purpose, meaning and resilience. For purpose, meaning and in particular resilience are not defined by reaching a goal. They are measured by taking the next step. In that sacred moment, we can be at peace.
And so we move to the laying of the wreaths, after which Chaplain Jim will return to read the firefighters' prayer. I'll be calling people forward to present the wreaths that you see here, and then if you have your own floral tribute that you'd like to present, you will be welcome to do so. South Australian Chief Fire Officer, Brett Lachlan. The South Australian Volunteer Firefighters Museum. The member for McKillop, Jason Virgo. Federal Member for Barker, Tony Passon. National Parks and Wildlife Service. Forestry SA. SA Police. South Australian Country Fire Service Volunteers Association. Country Fire Service Foundation. Naracoorte Lucendale Council. Tatiara Council. CFS Region 5. CFS Region 1. CFS Region 2. CFS Region 3. And the Mount Lofty CFS Group. And if there is anyone else here who has a floral tribute that you'd like to lay, you are welcome to come forward. Well, at this point, I think special thanks to our piper, Ed Coventry, filling in for Rosemary Gerhardy today. I'd like to invite Chaplain Jim Keach to come forward again now and recite the firefighter's prayer.
I would invite you in this moment to follow the words of the firefighter's prayer printed on your program. When I am called to duty, God, wherever flames may rage, give me the strength to save some life, whatever be its age. Help me embrace a little child before it's too late, or save an older person from the horror of that fate. Enable me to be alert and hear the weakest shout, and quickly and efficiently put the fire out. I want to feel my calling, and to give the best in me, to guard my every neighbour and protect their property. And if, according to my fate, I am to lose my life, please bless with your protecting hand my children, my wife. To my CFS family, our emergency services colleagues, and members of the wider South Australian community. Our coming together in this way today is important for us, not just corporately but individually as well. To realise that even though each of us are one among the many, the age-old value to protect life and property holds true for all of us, regardless of the role or position or rank we hold within our wider communities. And to those of you who are here this morning who are personally connected to the names on the wall, I would say to you as gently as I possibly can, that you will continue to learn that during your journey, life and grief will walk hand in hand with you. And it is the grief that brings to you the memories of the one who has left. And as we come towards the end of this service, I would say and encourage all of you here today to take from this memorial service what will nourish you. Sift the words, thoughts and emotions that have washed over you and decide what you can leave here and what you are able to take with you into the days ahead on your journey. And so now may peace surround each one of you always, in your going out and in your coming in your sitting down and in your rising up, in your work and in your play, in your joy and in your sorrow, in your laughter and in your tears, and in your journey until that day comes, which is without dawn and without dark. In a few moments, when it is time, depart from this place in peace and look to the morning of each day to the east, assured that the sun will rise again.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth untold, our hope is built by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair.
Please be seated. And how appropriate that the sun is shining again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the end of today's proceedings. Before we finish, though, I'd like to invite the Museum Chairman, Alan Hall, to again come forward with some closing remarks.
Thank you, Stuart, and thank you everyone for your attendance this morning. How much difference a year makes. This time last year, we couldn't finish the ceremony quick enough to go chase a glass of cold water somewhere. I think we had 3 or 4 cadets that ended up on the ground. It was quite hot and unpleasant, whereas today it's been a little unpleasant the other way. I guess that's just a proof of what it is we do when we volunteer for this almighty organisation. It doesn't matter whether it's hot, whether it's cold. We go out there, we do what we need to do. And it's probably very poignant that we remember those that have paid this sacrifice in all these type of weather conditions too. I won't keep you. A special thank you to the committee, the band of supporters for making this day happen. It takes more than 1 or 2 people to bring all this together, and thank you to all of those. Please spend some time catching up with old acquaintances, colleagues, friends, and remembering the significance of today and the friendships that come through the service. For those interested, the museum continues to be open, and if you want to go and have a look through, if you haven't seen it before, by all means pop through and have a look. And just a reminder that the AGM of the Volunteer Firefighters Museum is at 2 o'clock this afternoon in this building over here. If you have any interest in the museum, by all means you're most welcome to come along to that. Once again, thank you everyone. Safe travels home, and we look forward to catching you in the future. Thank you.